connected and filled with love by the time the evening is over. We'll see. Let's see how it goes. So our theme is not resisting what is, as you know, and this seems to be quite an important thing for me, because when I looked at it, I realized that there are so many ways that we can resist what is in our lives. It's not just a general feeling of resistance. I'm going to ask you in a minute to see what you can brainstorm. But I started writing down when I was thinking that this was the theme, in what ways a person could resist what's going on. So whatever it is, every day we have loads of unexpected things happen. I remember thinking this some years back. Isn't it amazing? There's not a day goes by without a load of unexpected things happening. That's true, isn't it? You and often we don't seem to learn because we think the day's going to go as we think it's going to go. Of course, it doesn't. And lots of unexpected things happen. And lots of things happen that we'd really rather didn't. Things that don't happen that we'd hope were going to happen. And all kinds of experiences and feelings, myriad of things happen during the day, every day. And we have a myriad of ways of resisting them, of saying at some level, this is not really quite okay. I didn't really want that. I wanted this. It should have been more like this. And they should have done that. Those kind of expressions we get into. Why didn't they do that? And why was it like this? Oh, it would have been better if they had one of these. That kind of constant expression, interacting with everything about how it's not really quite right. And sometimes it's more than not quite right. It's completely wrong, really disappointing, and people are awful and upsetting. And there's a whole a range of expressions we can have about how what's going on in our lives and in ourselves and other people is really not quite all right. And all of that is resisting. And it's like putting a kind of wall up between stuff that's going on and ourselves, which takes us quite in the opposite direction of feeling any kind of connection and oneness with other people in the life. It's a feeling of taking ourselves apart, looking at the world and saying, oh dear, yeah, oh dear, this is really not all right. Look at the wars and the people and the abuse and the treatment of the earth and the things that I haven't got at that I should have. And do you see that? Do you recognize that kind of feeling? How easy it is. I mean, maybe if you've been on your spiritual path for quite a long time, you're not doing that so much and you're more aware of it. But what I'm wanting to work with tonight is getting to that place where you simply say, yes, that is. It just is. This is like this is like that. And these people are doing this thing is not working. Whatever it is, it just is. And that produces for us a very deep peace. Now, I'm sure some of you think, well, I'm a long way from that. But it doesn't matter how far away from it you are, because you can move really fast once you realize certain things, can't you? Doesn't you get something? You can actually really advance quickly. So I'm hoping that tonight that we'll all get a little bit further with being aware that when we resist things, we make ourselves separate and unhappy, and many other things too, unpeaceful, fearful, guilty, somehow alone, outside of everything. So the whole process of resisting things is a bit of a mess for us. And I think it's not something that's very often addressed. And I'm really wanting us to look at it so we can say, wow, I see how I resist things in my life and I can choose not to. Okay. So we'll look at how to choose not to a bit later, but I thought we might have a little brainstorm and I could sort of write some things down that you come across. I'll give you a couple of clues because sometimes you can't really think of anything at first. What's she talking about? But I've got loads on my list. So one or two just to give you, just to get you thinking. Lying, woundedness, forgetfulness, procrastination. That's a few things. I'm just going to let Jan in. I knew she was going to be late. So there's a few things we do that express our resistance. Hi, Jan.
Hi there.
Hi. We're just
You know,
talking
Sorry,
about.
you know you couldn't get on and then link. You've probably talked about that, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes. But thank you. We're just talking about how we resist things. And I was inviting people to have a little bit of a brainstorm. We haven't arrived at that yet. I was just suggesting a few ways, a few behaviors that we have. Most of them, you might take a little while to think about them because they're mostly unconscious. We don't sit there and think, I think I will procrastinate, do we? We just find ourselves procrastinating. And then we look back and think, oh shit, I was supposed to be doing that and I spent all day not doing it again. So that is a form of resistance. When we lie, when we lie about however small it is, that's a resisting of what is, trying to make it something else, isn't it? What else did I suggest? Jealousy, regret. You could look at all of these, but have a go. Let's see if you've got ideas in your minds, and I'll add them to my list. If you haven't got any, we'll have a go at my list. But I'm sure if you just reflect a minute, you can see in what way. You don't have to be personal at the moment. You can say people. In what way do we, as human beings, how do we resist things in our lives? How do we avoid and back off from and push things away from us? What do we do?
Are we doing this together, all together? Sorry.
Yeah, we're just doing a bit of brainstorming.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yes, just when you get what you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just go over what you said about lying again? Because that was quite interesting. Because I can't think of how I avoid things. I know procrastination is a definite one, but what did you say about lying?
You're avoiding something in your life. It depends what the lie's about. If it's about you or about what's happening or somebody else.
Okay, yeah.
You're not actually allowing yourself to see things as they are. You're in an avoidance tactic, which is a kind of resistance. So resistance, a lot of it is avoiding, turning away from, not wanting to see. So basically, it's like keeping things at bay around us, and not accepting what is, trying to fix things to be something else. Yeah, that's a bit more of a clue. Any other thoughts?
Is it like people?
Money?
Sorry, is it like people pleasing?
Yeah.
People pleasing, yes, that's a good one. Yeah.
Addictions. Oh, sorry, Jan.
You go ahead. You go ahead, Evelyn.
Thank you. Something's too painful. Something's too painful to look at, or too dark to look at. Don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
Postpone it. Hide it.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
I don't know if you can hear me. I said addictions.
Oh no, we didn't get you. Oh yes,
Yeah.
brilliant, Marion. Yes.
That's
and that's a very strong one, isn't it? Because it really stopped you having taken anything.
Yeah.
Short term, anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That old classic, projecting it on others, blaming others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get sidetracked quite a lot, but that's a part of procrastinating, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
I was thinking resistance of if you're you're trying to decide about something and you're sort of over researching it, over checking out, over check guarantees that you don't have to make the decision on it. Yeah.
So what would that be? Over research? My God, that's me to a T. Over researching and
over researching.
The wonderful thing about this, we see things about ourselves.
Well, I'd say it, Jenny, because I do that.
I've just been doing it all afternoon and yesterday for an essay. I've just been reading stuff and I feel like I'm going crazy in my mind. I just can't stop researching and I'm going down one rabbit hole after another. And then I'm now thinking, what am I doing? I haven't even started the main essay.
Yeah.
It's just really upsetting, actually. I feel quite distraught by it, really. I suppose it's perfectionism underneath, because you're trying to do it perfectly, and there's fear, isn't there, behind it?
I think it's also a fear of actually doing what it is, because
Yeah.
if you don't actually start it, you can't fail or do it badly.
No.
So I think that's part
So
of it.
fear is the underlying thing, but it manifests in
fear underneath.
procrastination, and
Yeah.
Maybe that lack of trust,
Yes.
not trusting that you've got enough, and it's just more and more, you know, not being able to let that go, perhaps.
yeah.
Sometimes just.
That old trust business. Oh gosh. That old trust.
The other thing is I've noticed that I can, it's just a form of procrastination, but somebody called me, and I know I should have said, I can't speak for long, but I carried on. And in a way, it's people pleasing as well. Listening and talking. And then the whole evening went, because somebody else phoned after that, and somebody else. And my whole evening just went.
Yeah.
And then I felt really worse then, because I hadn't done anything anymore by essay.
Right.
So what was that bit? I suppose that's not setting boundaries, is it? I suppose, but that isn't a resist. Is that a resisting?
It's slightly off. That's slightly off what we're specifically looking at, but it doesn't matter, because everything's important, because we want to see as much as we can, don't we, of the stuff that we do that gets in our way. Let's see if there's anything else anybody's got in terms of how you resist things. How you it's not accepting. That's what we're really talking about, isn't it? It's that place where we say this is not all right. And Jenny, with yours, you can say that there's levels of resistance there, because you're also resisting what you're doing. So actually being upset about procrastination or putting things off is in itself a resistance.
Yes.
We're really asking ourselves with this work to accept everything, every level, every layer, to be at peace with whatever is. Anyway, that's getting a bit ahead of ourselves. So anything else anybody can think of?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've got it. I've got it. If I've gone off on a tangent or I'm saying the same thing, but I am in the throes of making big decisions about where I'm going to live now, and there are times when I'm overcome by the fear, because it involves making so many decisions. And it's as though I can't trust myself. Yeah.
Yes. I think what I'll do is I'll just read out the things I've got as well and see if that stimulates any more thoughts. Oh, Marion, you had something to say.
I was going to say moaning.
Moaning, yeah, brilliant one. Yeah. Yes, moaning.
I got one. Sorry, I was going to say not for myself, not being present.
Yes. Oh, that's a really good one. Yes. Not being present. You see, some of these I haven't got on my list, so it's really brilliant.
I was just going to say, go on, Jan.
Yeah, I was going to say getting ill.
Yeah.
Illness is a real sign of resistance, isn't it? Can be.
Yeah. And for those into A Course in Miracles, you know, it's made very clear there that when we're ill, it's a jolly good way of moving out of our nature and into the body, and then we can avoid loads of things. So, but that's a very big issue, the sickness one.
I was going to say getting into the drama, maybe a drama.
Yes, drama. Yeah.
Well, lockdown itself was a way of procrastinating and not doing anything, wasn't it? Because it didn't really matter whether you did it today or next week, because every day's the same. So,
gosh, we could have a whole philosophical discussion on what the whole virus thing's about, but let's do that. Lou, you wanted to say something.
It was linked to the illness. It was just like shutting down and running away, and maybe just going to sleep or just going to bed and then trying to run away from it, really.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Go to sleep and then you're not thinking about anything.
Yes, and this is actually a recognized condition for many people who sleep hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And obviously, getting good night's sleep is good for you, but sleeping 15 hours a day probably isn't. Something's going on, isn't it? Okay, so I'll tell you what else I've got. So all those great ones from you. So the overall summary is resistance is about not wanting what is, wanting something different from what you thought. Yeah. And in Buddhism, they talk about all suffering coming from wanting things to be different. Isn't that just so straightforward? Wanting things to be different instead of just deeply going to this great place of accepting, well, that's how it is, you know? I'll talk more about that because we don't stop there on just accepting. There's another level that we need to work with, but I'll tell you that in a bit. You probably know. So I got denial, which is a bit like a lot of you have been saying, anger,
Yeah.
fear. Oh, we said fear, guilt, and the whole realm of judgment. So Marion, you said about moaning, that's part of it. So moan, I'm always talking about this lot, but it's so important, isn't it? Moaning, complaining, criticizing, judging, finding things wrong, finding other people wrong. All of that lot is huge because that's a mega resistance, isn't it? You know, if you're saying, I allow things to be as they are, well, there wouldn't be any complaining or moaning or judging them, would there? You can't have both at once. So we're moving towards this place of allowing things to be. So we need to really recognize in our lives the way that we're dissatisfied. We find things wrong with things all the time. And then I've got making others wrong. Lying, I also already mentioned. Attacking, woundedness, getting really into a really hurt place and feeling all wounded. Unworthiness, forgetfulness. We touched on that, didn't we? A sense of betrayal, bitterness, resentment, hatred, reproach, vengeance, jealousy, antagonism, bad mouth people, shame, regret, and living in the future or the past is to overlook, particularly living in the future. Because if we are dissatisfied with what we've got now, but keep visualizing that we'll be all right when, you know, there's many people are like that. When I have the new house, the new relationship, the new hairdo, I've lost some weight, when I've got this and I've bought this new thing. You see, all of the happiness is going out there and I'm going to be all right when. But of course, if you have that kind of mentality, this when doesn't ever happen. It never comes. We're constantly dissatisfied. So yes, so planning all of that, you know, a lot of that goes a lot with what you've already said. There's a whole bunch of things, I think, isn't it, that we might not have thought of before that demonstrate us resisting what is. And I'm going to ask you to particularly look at things in your lives in a minute, but I would want to first just look at what would happen if we didn't resist, if we did accept things as exactly as they are. And first, and you know, I'll see if there's anything you want to say in a moment, but first, we would be peaceful, wouldn't we? You know, this resisting creates a turbulent mind, an upset mind, a mind that is never still. So when you're resisting, you're turbulent, you're unpeaceful, and you're always working out, aren't you, how you're going to fix things. So this is not all right, and they should. And then you can do real chuntering. Do you know what I mean by chuntering? And ranting about things. You're ranting in your head, or ranting to other people, or ranting about other people. So that really fills your head, and it causes massive disturbance, and it's a mess. And when you're in this incredible resistance of chuntering in your head, how could you ever be inspired or intuitive or listen to higher guidance or have brilliant ideas? These things happen with quiet mind. I don't know if any of you know, but I'm just thinking it's I'm just going to mute this noise in the background. Yeah. Okay. Einstein apparently said that he didn't get his brilliant ideas when he was thinking about stuff. He only was working it out and doing his theories and everything. He got his brilliant ideas when he walked by the sea and that his mind was still. Because if we think that brilliant ideas come from, perhaps it's all part of us, but it's not our ordinary everyday self that has brilliant ideas, is it? You know, that is truly amazing and creative and writes sonatas and does terrific paintings and things like that. This comes from, I don't know how to describe it. It's another realm. It's perhaps from the divine realm, from God, from spirit. Now you can't get these brilliant ideas coming to you and these wonderful inspirations if your mind never stops talking, can you? Because there's no space. And in A Course in Miracles, we talk about the Holy Spirit. You can think of that as a higher mind or your inner guide or Buddha or whatever you want, but there's a place that we can connect with where we get these amazing ideas and brilliant suggestions and great inspirations. And it's as if we say to wherever this comes from, don't bother me, I'm trying to work it out. You know, so instead of being still and just giving up the problem, the situation, the challenge, whatever it is, giving it up to our higher wisdom and just quietly getting on with our lives, knowing that the answer will come. We just sit there and try to work it all out. We don't want to be bothered by getting brilliant ideas. Do you see what I mean? We shut it out by a mind that never stops talking. So the great thing about allowing things to be, not resisting things, is that your mind gets quiet. Because mostly what your mind or the mind is thinking about is what's wrong with stuff. And isn't that true? The most of the occupation of our mind is what's wrong with things, what's wrong with people, what's wrong with ourselves, what should be different. That takes up hours and hours and hours and endless hours every day. So your mind cannot be still. So that's the most wonderful reason for learning to accept things as they are, which is the same as not resisting. There's space in your mind, there's space in your heart, in your life, and you can just move through without thinking. I don't know if anybody's experienced times in their lives where they're just not thinking. What an incredibly beautiful place that is. Some people are nodding there. You know? And it doesn't just arrive. We have to prepare ourselves to not think. And some of you who are here who came to the session I did on happiness, and you might remember that our conclusion on what happiness was a state of thoughtless awareness. And that's quite revolutionary in a way, because I think if we started now to say, what is happiness? We might take a while to get there. But just think about that a moment. Think about not thinking. That state of thoughtless awareness. So no thinking, but completely present, completely aware. So you're absolutely still, you're absolutely here, you're not in the future or the past, you're not resisting anything. That is bliss. That is such bliss. So I just really want to give you some real incentives, you know, to think about this, working with not resisting. I'm going to talk more about it and what happens the next stage to that, because some of you might be thinking, well, doesn't that make you a complete doormat? You know, you don't resist anything, you don't complain about anything, you don't dislike anything, you just turn into a blob. Well, you won't. We'll have a look more deeply at that. But what I'd really like is for you to be able to do some work in pairs, which is always a very fruitful time, and have a look at your things in your life that you resist at the moment. What would be good, I think, is if you just spend a few minutes, everybody, with a pen and paper. Actually, before you do that, we have to sing. I forgot the singing. Money in this group singing is very important. It's that You know, we just transcend thinking when we sing, especially when we sing simple, repetitive songs. There's no thought there, there's just love and connection. So we've got two songs tonight. One that some of you may have sung with me called Building Bridges. This seems to be such a lovely thought that when we're here together, we're building bridges between us, building connections, finding oneness. And here we all are on little squares on the screen, but somehow or another, you know, we can still be one and be connected. So who remembers Building Bridges? Does somebody remember singing Building Bridges? Not many. Do you remember, Jan? Anyway, not to worry. I'm going to sing it for you.
Yeah.
With coffee, but never mind. So I'll sing it and then I'll give you the words and then we'll sing it together. Building bridges across our divisions. I reach out for you as you reach out for me. With all of our voices and all of our visions, together we will make such sweet harmony. Isn't that lovely? I learned that many years ago and I forgot all about it until recently. I don't know if this is any help, but I wrote it out. Does this help at all, or is it better if I just say it to you? Can you see it? Does it help?
I think it's easier if you just say it.
Right, so
It's quite hard to see it.
yes, especially since it's a bit woggly. You can do a whiteboard thing, but I haven't learned that skill yet. Okay. Building bridges across our divisions. I reach out for you as you reach out for me. With all of our voices and all of our visions, together we will make such sweet harmony. So what I suggest is when we sing, we just look around the group and feel we're really singing it. Make sure you sing it to everybody here to help build that connection together. And I invite you to stand. You can get into singing much better if you stand. And does anybody got any shakers or anything? If you have, that's good. But okay. Oh, and Liz, yes, you've got a gold star. You've got a shaker or something. Now we've got to keep our mute except me, because otherwise, unfortunately, it doesn't work. We don't synchronize. I wish we did. So if you sing it together 3 times and just really put your heart into it, because it's so important. We build these bridges between us and we find our oneness. So if you're not standing already, it'd be great if you could. Jenny, go for it, honey.
Okay, I'll try and move my computer. Hang on.
Okay, are you ready? Building bridges across our divisions, I reach out for you as you reach out for me. With all of our voices and all of our visions, together we will make such sweet harmony. Building bridges across our divisions, I reach out for you as you reach out for me. With all of our voices and all of our visions, together we will make such sweet harmony. Last time, full voice. Building bridges across our divisions, I reach out for you as you reach out for me. with all of our voices and all of our visions. Together we will make such sweet harmony. Ooh. Lovely, thank you. Wasn't that gorgeous? I'm sure you all sound really beautifully. Yeah, good. Did you all sing beautifully? Come on. Yes, good. Okay, so now we've just let it go a bit of energy there. Take a nice deep breath. And now just 2 or 3 minutes by yourself, having a look at what are you resisting in your life right now. So as in what you're complaining about, not liking, not wanting, wishing were different, criticizing, judging, moaning about, procrastinating, all those things. What are you doing in your life right now? What are you resisting? Okay. You can write a few things, but I'm going to suggest that you focus in the end on one of them that you can tell your partner about and do the breakout rooms. But it's okay. You can actually do it as you want in the end.
Sorry, Leah, can you say what are you resisting? So we've got to identify what it is we're resisting.
Identify what you're resisting.
What if we can't?
Just take some deep breaths. Don't think
Okay.
and just say to yourself, what am I resisting right now? It'll come to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. So maybe just another minute or so with this. You don't have to have it all cut and dried. It's just beginning to explore. So you've got the cogs moving, ready for your sharing. Okay, so I think we'll start getting ready for the the breakout rooms. There's 9 people. So if we had 3 in a room, that would work nicely, wouldn't it? Okay. And I think you do need 5 minutes each. So that's going to be 15 minutes between the 3 of you. And so the idea is that you say what it is you think you're most resisting. If you really want to talk about all the things, you can do that. But my suggestion is that you're choosing something to talk about that's your biggest resistance at the moment, which will be something you complain about, judge, don't like, want to be different. You try to focus in on those kinds of words. They'll take you there more easily, I think, or things that you hate, things that you feel vengeful about. I think you're with me, that kind of feeling. So the things you're resisting by pushing them away, not wanting them to be different. Okay, is everybody okay with that? So if you have 5 minutes each, I'll tell you when it's 4 minutes, so you know to sort of begin to wrap it up. Try to have a look at not just what you resist, but see if you can get inside why you resist it. Yeah? You don't have to explain in great depth, but just really, why do you resist that? So say you're judging at the moment something to do with the virus, and so you've got a big resistance to what something's happening to you with that. Why are you resisting that? Try to really explore what's going on for you there. You're not got to have answers to anything. It's really only about exploration, so you can see, what am I resisting? What's that about? Why am I resisting it? What are the feelings that I have? Yeah, try and really sort of get inside of it. Yeah? And then ask yourself, or one of the people that's listening, I'd like you to say, what would happen if you stopped resisting that? What would happen if you accepted it? Okay. Now it's a tricky formula because not everything's the same, so you might have to adapt a bit depending on the kind of thing people are bringing. But if you would remember that when you're speaking, the big thing, ideally, that you're really resisting in some way at the moment, why you're resisting it, and the feelings you've got around it. And I'm going to I'll remind people to ask the speaker, what would happen if you just accepted that exactly as it is? Okay, is everybody okay? Give me a thumbs up if you're okay. Tell me if you've got any worries or concerns or queries. No, everybody's all right. All right then, lovely. So 5 minutes each. After about 3 minutes, I'll say to you, be moving towards saying what would happen if you simply accepted that exactly as it is. Okay, explore that a bit. And then I'll tell you when you've got a minute towards the end. Okay, good. So I'll now find the breakout rooms, and I'll communicate just with writing now to you. If I make 3 breakout rooms, that should work, shouldn't it? Okay, so enjoy your time together. Oh dear. I'm sure that you did actually hit upon probably the answer really to all our problems, because it's a lot to do with allowing things to be, isn't it? Not resisting, not judging, not complaining, not wanting it to be different. There's something really fundamental there. In the course, we talk about forgiveness, and it's this whole thing of letting it all go. I have a picture of, an enlightened being. My picture of an enlightened being is somebody who just walks very quietly through their life, not making a big rah-rah or fuss, or not being famous or known particularly, but just somebody who quietly walks through their life, being at peace, being filled with love, healing just by their presence. Chrissy and our pussycats. And I remember something that somebody said to me, that I think it was Guru Mai from Siddha Yoga that I used to do. She said, a great person is not one that is seen doing great things, but is one around whom great things get done. So that then you don't directly notice the person, yeah? That they just kind of quietly walk through life, and around them healing happens, beauty happens, things are solved. There's goodness all around them. Can you see that picture? This sweet, quiet person who's not being a big speaker on being famous or anything, just quietly bringing their light everywhere they go. Does that resonate with people? Yeah, and this is where you get to, I think, if you just move along this path of not resisting things, not wanting things to be different. It's very, very peaceful. It's filled with love and it's filled with joy. So I think that what I'd like us to do before we do any sharing on this, I think it's time for a thank you. Those of you who have been with my sessions before, there's this lovely little thank you thing we do sometimes. Lou's already got that. So you get your hands folded together on your heart here. Okay. And then the first one we're just going to do is a general thank you. Not to any, no, actually, I think we'll do it the other way around. Let's do a thank you to everybody here. You know, thank you for all that sharing. Thank you for what we've done so far. Just let's pause and say thank you. So as you say thank you, just look around to everybody. You don't have to think what for. Just thank everyone. Okay. So every single person, say their name and they might not hear you, but it doesn't matter. Okay. Ready? Take a deep breath. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Marion. And thank you to Chrissy's cat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, and let's thank ourselves. Thank you to me. Thank you to me for being here, for trying my best, for wanting to be a good person, for forgiving, for letting go, for learning, for growing, for being the best that I can be. Thank you to me. Okay, and then the last one is just close your eyes, drop your head, and feel like you're embracing the universe, all people across the globe, everybody, everything, and all the animals and the vegetation, the whole of the planet. And you just say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And over again, and see if you can get it deep, deep, deep. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Isn't that lovely? It's so beautiful. You don't have to be focused on anything. You just awaken this gorgeous gratitude within. So gorgeous. And the time's whizzing along much faster than it's supposed to. So we're going to have a little quick share because we need to do a meditation and we need to talk a little bit more about what happens after you get to your peaceful place. So what I'd really like you to share is, and hopefully everybody found something good. Can you share what happens when you give up your resistance? You might be exactly the words that you said, but just reflect a moment. Just see if you can crystallize that. What happens when you give up resistance? Okay, to see if you can formulate a sentence that you want to share with the group. Okay, and I really ask you not to do a whole story, not because it won't be interesting, but because it takes too long. So just one sentence. What happens to you when you give up your resistance? You know, and that might be in the form of judgment, complaining, moaning, lying, procrastinating, whatever. What happens? when you stop resisting. So something that you can really offer to the group is everything that everybody has come across or knows really is useful to everybody else. Anybody not more or less ready? Just tell me if you, yeah, maybe just give me a thumb up. Are you ready? Thumb? Anybody not? I can't see anybody. Evelyn, are you ready? Yeah, more or less. Okay. Moni, I didn't see you. Were you ready? Yeah, you're okay. I think everybody's ready. So can I just ask you as I go across my screen, or do you want to just go when you feel like it? Go across. Okay. It saves worrying about things, doesn't it? Like, okay, so first on my screen is Moni. What happens when you give up resistance?
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to also thank everyone in Lou for being in my group. When I give up resistance, I feel relaxed, peaceful, and in my truth. I feel cared for, and self-love emanates within that I can share with the world.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Lou.
Hi. When I stop resisting, I will have a clear mind to be able to deal with any potential difficulties or barriers that may arise from a day-to-day situation. Clear head, clear mind, can easily come up with solutions.
Evelyn.
When I give up resistance, trust comes and peace comes.
Thank you. Jenny.
When I give up resistance, I experience success, happiness, peace, and love of myself and others. And I'm present and still.
Elizabeth.
Unmute. Okay. When I give up resisting, I feel centered and calm and trusting in myself and my decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mel.
I slow down. I feel an inner relaxation and a dropping into my being.
Thank you. Jan, you there? Yes.
Sorry, I'm bouncing around a bit standing up today. I've got this sciatica and it's really painful. So that's why I'm up and down and up and down. Yes, when I give up, when I accept and give up resistance, it's very peaceful. It's very, just feels, it's a right feeling, and I feel like I've stepped on a sort of flow that is, you know, I can't put it, but a sort of right flow. I'm just going down this river calmly as I should be. are being carried, really. I suppose that's what I'm saying. But if I'm honest, with the big things in my, particularly one big thing in my life, when I give up resistance, what I do shortly afterwards is I pick it up again. Yes. So, I mean, that's just the journey, isn't it? Well, my journey.
Yes. No, that's normal.
Yeah.
With these things, we just keep trying again, and then we fall down a hole, and then we get out and we try again. And we just keep going.
Yeah.
You've been amazing at keeping going.
Yeah.
Thank you. Marion.
My sentence is a long sentence with a but in the middle. Is that all right?
Okay, yeah. It sounds like you've got a bit of resistance in the middle of your sentence.
Well, maybe. When I give up resistance, I feel more expanded, more peace, more present. But there's a small part of me that feels that I will resign myself to this situation for the rest of my life if I give up resistance.
I understand.
I know that can be resistance.
Yes. I was going to say a few words about that kind of thing when we finish, but thank you. Thank you. Chrissy.
Well, I've got this little mantra that I say every day, these 4 lines, and one of them is, may I be able to accept things as they are. And I think I've been saying that for quite a few years now. And I do feel I'm more sort of laid back about life. And although I've got some decisions to make, I'm not that worried about them. They don't keep me awake. And I tend to think that I'll get an answer to it all when the time is right. And then things will become easier and the solution will be clearer. But it has to be when the time is right. So I should just toddle on as I am until the time is right. But I shan't worry about it.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, everyone. So, yes, super. Isn't it lovely when we hear each other, because everybody has such wisdom? It's just beautiful. And I just want to say something about what I mentioned before about what happens next when you get to peace. Because I really understand, Marion, your concern. You know, if I don't resist anything, will I just turn into a blob, is in effect what you're saying. You know, I won't have any thoughts about anything. I won't go anywhere. I won't think of anything. And anybody will have to do what they like with me. No, that's just the ego likes us to think that, to try and stop us, because it's the last thing the ego wants is for us to stop resisting things and stop complaining and judging and moaning and so on. I think the point is that we have to focus on is when we are in non-resistance, we are in peace and the quiet mind that I talked of. And when you're in this quiet, still mind, that's when you get great ideas, solutions to problems, things that you really need to do, ways to handle things. It doesn't mean that it's all soft and soggy. You know, the guidance you get when you're in this peaceful place might be really strong. You might be told to go out to Syria and, you know, help feed the children. Do you know what I mean? Anything can happen. It's not that you're going to be not taking any action, not doing anything, just turning into a blob. You're just turning into somebody that is peaceful. And a peaceful person is also filled with love and with joy. They're radiating light. They heal wherever they go. And they take action based on the guidance they receive. So when we are in this peaceful place, we can be guided. You know, we can listen. If we're doing the course, you might think of the Holy Spirit. As I was saying before, you can't hear guidance, can you? When you never stop talking and resisting in your head. So you don't turn into a blob, I promise you. You turn into somebody who takes perhaps considered right action. In Buddhism, again, it's called right action. So you don't waste time doing 15 things, none of which work. You do one thing and it works. Yeah? You say exactly the right thing. You go to the right place. you meet the right person. Do you see? It's instead of us being all over the place, taking loads of action, saying loads of things and worrying and complaining and arguing and faffing about, we're just quietly here, being still until we get this great inspiration. This is the right thing to do. And we do it. And it is the right thing. And it works. Right? And then we can go back to quiet again. But most of us spend most of our lives doing loads of things, random things, yeah, that don't work, don't get us anywhere. So we want to move out of random into clear, simple action and words that have been guided. And when we feel the guidance, we just see it through and we just do that. And then we come back to peace again until we're clear again what else we need to do. Do you see what I mean? It's this great stillness. And you don't need to do a lot. If you're working 15 hours a day, something's gone wrong. You know, it isn't, we don't need to do that. We need to do the right things, like somebody was saying. I think it was it Marion about, no, Chrissy, about things happening and doing the things in their moment. And what I love is the thought that we do it with grace. Yeah? There's divine grace, but there's grace in the way that we speak. There's grace in the way that we act. And there's clarity and strength, yeah? And rightness. So it's a very, very beautiful place. And so do get rid of any ideas that if you accept things, it's not the ego's idea of acceptance, or I'll accept that because I just really don't think I can deal with it. Not that kind of accepting. You're just strong, with strength and clarity and vision and love. You just accept it. Then you are filled with grace. And it's a very beautiful place to be. Is everybody feeling pretty much tuned in with what I'm saying there? And I hope very much I've inspired you a little bit, or we've inspired each other to just go a bit further forward with this, allowing things to be. The way I do it is I just walk around saying it, because a lot of this work is about exchanging the ego rubbish thoughts that we have and all the complaining and all this stuff, this resisting thoughts, to even if we exchanged a few of them for really beautiful thoughts that create healing and goodness and beauty in the world. So one of them is, I allow all things to be exactly as they are. And you just keep saying that. And when you hit something that you're wanting to judge, because you want to, don't you, when you get into something, oh, this shouldn't be like this. You want to have a good old rant about it. When you feel that coming on, you just take a breath. Okay, I really felt like ranting now, complaining, judging, but I'm going to accept things as they are. I allow all things to be exactly. Keep saying it. Because every single thought that ego thought you swap for one of those beautiful divine thoughts, creates a more beautiful life for yourself and everybody. Okay, lovely. So I think what I'd like to do now is a little meditation, and I've got a super Sanskrit chant for you at the end. Ooh, so sort of a nice joyful end to the evening. So if you'd like to get organized for meditation now, please. And closing your eyes when you're ready. And I just invite you to sit as upright as you can, because you are much more likely to be able to stay focused in meditation if you're sitting upright. If you need to, stick a cushion behind your back and feel your spine erect and your head sort of balanced comfortably on your neck. And that if your eyes, you could measure your gaze, that the line of your gaze would be parallel with the earth. So that means you're not either dropping your head down or letting it drop back. Tuck your chin in a bit. And it's not so you look nice, but it makes your meditation so much more focused and you're much more present. Okay. So close your eyes if you haven't done so already. And take some deep breaths. I just suggest at first you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and you take some deep breaths. So you can hear that noisy out breath. I just invite you to have a letting go breath, several letting go breaths. And then let your breathing just really settle down to a gentle rise and fall of your chest. Your eyes are just lightly closed. Just feel as if gentle hands smooth out your brow and you soften down through your cheeks and into your jaw. Let your lower jaw become slack and your teeth part. Our face can get so tight from trying to see and trying to understand. It produces a great tightness in the face. And if you feel you need to wiggle your eyebrows and your nose and your mouth, just do that, just so that you release any tension. Keep your head nice and upright, unless you'll feel like dozing. Rest your hands lightly in your lap, with your feet on the ground. Moving your attention into your heart center. You might be able to feel your heart beating. A sense of peace flows through you as you remember who you really are, that you are love. I should say we are love. We are peace. We are joy. These things are inextricably wound together. If you have one of those, you have them all. So we are peace. We are love. We are joy. And we join together in this place in our hearts, in the light, and where we came in, that we are one. Let's just contemplate a little bit some of the thoughts that we need in order to engage with our life without resistance. I'll just give you some statements and you can say them in your mind, adjust them or not say them as you wish. These are suggested statements. And you feel them imprint in you. You're going to carry these with you and use them in your life. Whenever you come across a situation that you are resisting, that you don't want it to be different. Feel your willingness now to just move on a bit with this, to grow a little, to become more peaceful, more loving, more joyful. And know that the gateway to this is in our own hands, our own minds and hearts. I allow all things to be exactly as they are. I allow all things to be exactly as they are. I let go of all my judgments, all my moaning and complaining. I let it all go. Through my forgiveness for all people, all events, everything that I ever might be tempted to judge. I forgive myself, and I love myself exactly as I am. I release all resistance. I deeply accept everything as it is. I open myself instead to higher guidance, to brilliant ideas, effective answers, and right action. And so I become the presence of love. Everywhere I go, everything I encounter, everything I read, everything I hear, everyone I hear about or meet, everything that happens in my world, I now choose to meet it with love. I choose to be the presence of love, to be a healing balm wherever I go, to let the light go before me. I am the presence of love in every circumstance. I am the presence of love. Just for 2 or 3 minutes, just take those words and repeat them in your mind and heart. Let them flow with your breath. I am the presence of love. And I'll call you back in 2 or 3 minutes with the Tibetan bowl. Everybody back? Yes, I think so. Isn't that a lovely thought? Being the presence of love. That's what my workshop's called in when is it? Oh, September. It's just so much in my life at the moment, this idea of being the presence of love. So I hope very much you'll all be able to come, and to a workshop that Mel and I are doing together on the 5th of June. We'll get that information on that out soon once we've finished working on what the words are. So let's move on to the last thing we're going to do, which is to chant together if you'd like to. I don't know if everybody's done Sanskrit chanting. Most have done some with me, but let's give it a bash anyway without me explaining it all. Sanskrit words are all, I was told when I was in India, just think of all the Sanskrit words being about singing the name of God or the Great Spirit or the Divine or Buddha or whatever. It's an it's an honoring of that great power, everything that we sing. And this one's called Jai Ma. And it's a song to the goddess Kali, and Kali is the goddess who rides through our life, causing all kinds of chaos. So I love the Indian way. They've got all the different gods and goddesses to have all aspects of our journey, our spiritual journey. So sometimes we need shaking up a bit, don't we? So Kali's about shaking us up and getting us to have a look at our lives and putting it all back together again slightly differently. So I'll sing it for you, and then and then I'll give you the words. Shall I play the, no, I'll play the drum once we sing it together. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Devi, Jai Ma, Jai Kali Devi, Jai Ma, Kali Ma. So there's lots of bits, aren't there? All very similar, but rearranged slightly. So if you're ready to write it down, it's Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Kali. I'm just singing to say it. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma. I've got it written down here. So we say it to myself. Yeah. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma. Okay. You sing that twice. Right. And then Jai Ma, Jai Kali Devi. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Devi. Yeah. And then Jai Ma, Kali Ma. The thing about Sanskrit chanting is it's so full of joy, and it transcends, wait a minute, it takes us out of thinking, which is so important for us, isn't it? To stop thinking. Yes, it takes us to a place of joy, love and peace. And it's very lively, noisy, but in the middle of all that liveliness and the noise is the heart of peace and connection with God. That's just so gorgeous. Has everybody reasonably got those words ready to give it a bash? Now, really, again, I can't possibly stand and drum at the same time, but if you could stand, you'll get much more out of it because you need to bop about. I used to chant with the City Yoga group, and it was always at least an hour for every chant, and we'd chant for hours, and you'd get so, it was a bit like being high. But it was being high. You'd had such a fabulous time dancing and singing, and it was ecstatic. So you can't get ecstatic really sitting down, can you? You can a bit if you're drumming. Okay. Is everybody ready? Okay. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Devi, Jai Ma, Jai Kali Devi, Jai Ma, Kali Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Kali Ma, Jai Jai Kali Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma Jai 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 Kali Ma. Jai Ma Jai Kali Devi. Jai Ma Jai Kali Devi. Jai Ma Kali Ma. Jai Ma Jai Kali Ma. Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma Jai Kali Ma. Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma Jai Kali Devi. Jai Ma Jai Kali Devi. Jai Ma Kali Ma. One more. Jai Ma Jai Kali Ma. Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma Jai Kali Ma. Jai Jai Kali Ma. Jai Ma Jai Kali Devi. Jai Ma Jai Kali Devi. Jai Ma Kali Ma. Woo! Imagine singing that for an hour. But if you do sing it for an hour, you start off very slowly. Did you enjoy that? It's fun, isn't it? Yeah. So joyful. You can't help smiling. So we'll do that again another time. So one very small thing to do, but very, very important. That mantra we used at the end for the meditation, I am the presence of love. I invite everybody to take a turn and just say that to the others. If you can't feel quite ready to say I am the presence of love, you can say I choose to be the presence of love. You can at least engage in moving towards it. Okay, so it's up to you. You can say, look around and say I am the presence of love. Yeah? Or I am choosing to be, or I am becoming the presence of love. It's up to you, whichever you want to do. And with this, just go when you feel like it. Okay?
I'll go. I am the presence of love.
Thank you, Mel. I see that you are.
I am the presence of love.
I see you are, Jan.
I choose to be the presence of love.
I see that in you, Lou. Thank you.
I am becoming the presence of love.
I choose to be the presence of love.
I just couldn't see who was that. Jenny. I couldn't see who was speaking. Oh, it's Moni. I'm not familiar with your voice yet. You got to keep coming. Would you mind saying it again, please?
Yes, change what I'm going to say. I am the presence of love.
Thank you, Moni. You are. You.
I am the presence of love.
I am the presence of love.
Yes, you are, Jenny. Thank you.
I am the presence of love.
Yes. Thank you, Moni.
I am the presence of love.
Just to tell you, next week is the Miracle Cafe. So you may or may not have been to it. I'll send a link out to it. And then the following week, I don't know. But I always write on Sundays. So you always know what's coming up. So blessings, everybody.
Leah, can I just quickly ask something?
Yeah.
Can I, Chrissy, ages ago, she gave me those 4 things that you say every day, and I've lost it. And you just mentioned it again, and you said, "May I accept things as they are?" What were the other 3?
Oh, right.
Okay.
May I be well. May I be able to accept things are as they are. May I live in peace. May I be well. May I be able to accept things as they are. May I be free from fear. May I live in peace and not harm others.
Sounds very Buddhist.
I think it is. I got this from a place called Sharpham House in Totnes when I went there.
What was the last one? Sorry, Chrissy. May I?
May I live in peace and not harm others.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mm.
Okay, we've gone getting to bye-bye.
Thanks, thanks, Leah. Thanks, everyone.
See
Bye,
you
everyone.
soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.